Jennifer Lopez, the world knows her as J-Lo, a woman who conquered everything: music, movies, fashion, and fame. To millions, she's the definition of success: glamorous, powerful, untouchable. But behind the flawless performances and dazzling red carpet smiles lies a story few truly understand. Because for Jennifer, the spotlight hasn't just been about applause. It's also been about pain, loss, and heartbreak. From her early days dancing on In Living Color to becoming one of the most influential entertainers of her generation, Jennifer Lopez has lived her life under constant public scrutiny. Every love story, every mistake, every tear has played out for the world to see. She's been adored, criticized, and endlessly judged, not just for her career choices, but for her personal ones. At 56, Jennifer stands as a symbol of resilience. But behind that strength hides a woman who has endured betrayal, broken engagements, failed marriages, and the heavy cost of fame. Her journey hasn't just been about chasing dreams. It's been about surviving the emotional storms that came with them. Because sometimes, even the brightest stars carry the darkest pain. And as Jennifer Lopez enters this new chapter of her life, her story reminds us that no amount of fame or fortune can shield the heart from heartbreak. This is the untold truth behind Jennifer Lopez's life, a story of love, loss, and the quiet tragedy that fame could never hide. Before Jennifer Lopez became a global superstar, she was just a girl from the Bronx, full of dreams, energy, and determination. Born in 1969 to Puerto Rican parents, Jennifer grew up in a working-class neighborhood where money was tight, but love and music filled the home. Her parents, Guadalupe and David Lopez, taught her discipline, hard work, and faith, the values that would become her foundation. From a young age, Jennifer knew she wanted more from life. While others imagined steady jobs and safe futures, she dreamed of lights, cameras, and standing ovations. "I always felt like I was meant for something big," she later said. But those dreams didn't come easy. Her parents were practical, and her decision to pursue show business was met with resistance. "They wanted me to go to college," she once revealed, "but I couldn't shake that feeling. I needed to perform." At 18, she moved out of her parents' home, chasing her passion for dance. She worked long hours, taking small gigs wherever she could, often sleeping in studios or friends' apartments just to survive. Her first big break came in 1991 when she was cast as a fly girl dancer on In Living Color. It wasn't glamorous, but it was her foot in the door, the beginning of something extraordinary. Yet, even as she climbed, Jennifer faced rejection after rejection. She was told she wasn't thin enough, wasn't the right look, and wouldn't make it as a Latina in Hollywood. But J-Lo never gave up. She trained harder, pushed further, and refused to let anyone define her worth. "When people said I couldn't," she said, "I just worked harder to prove that I could." Her breakthrough as an actress came with Selena in 1997, a role that changed everything. Jennifer wasn't just playing a superstar. She became one. The performance earned her critical acclaim and made her the first Latina actress to earn over $1 million for a film. But behind that success was a deep emotional connection. She saw in Selena a reflection of her own struggles, a talented Latina fighting for recognition in a world that didn't always accept her. As her fame grew, so did the pressure. Jennifer began juggling acting, singing, and dancing, becoming one of the hardest-working women in entertainment. But the exhaustion, the constant expectations, and the media's harsh spotlight took their toll. Every step forward came with criticism. Every relationship became headline news. She was celebrated for her beauty and talent, but scrutinized for her personal life. Still, Jennifer refused to let the world break her. She poured her pain into her music. Songs like "If You Had My Love" and "Love Don't Cost a Thing" weren't just hits. They were confessions, pieces of her truth set to rhythm. Each lyric carried the echoes of a woman learning to love herself in a world that tried to tear her apart. By her early 30s, Jennifer Lopez had become a global icon, but the girl from the Bronx was still there, fighting quietly behind the fame. Because beneath the glamour, she carried the same insecurities, fears, and heartbreaks as anyone else. And though her rise to fame seemed like a dream come true, what came next would test her strength in ways no stage or camera ever could. For Jennifer Lopez, love has always been both her greatest inspiration and her deepest pain. While the world saw glamour and romance, behind the headlines was a woman searching endlessly for something real, something lasting. Her first marriage to Ojani Noah in 1997 seemed promising, young love, full of hope. But as fame consumed her life, the relationship couldn't survive the pressure. Within a year, it ended, leaving Jennifer heartbroken but determined to keep moving. Then came dancer Chris Judd, her second husband, a kind man who adored her. But once again, fame got in the way. The cameras never stopped, the spotlight never dimmed, and the marriage collapsed after just 9 months. It seemed like every time Jennifer tried to open her heart, the world was waiting to tear it apart. But it was her relationship with Ben Affleck that became the center of it all. Bennifer, the love story that defined early 2000s pop culture. They were young, beautiful, and madly in love, or so it seemed. They starred in movies together, appeared on red carpets arm in arm, and planned a fairy tale wedding. The media obsession was unlike anything Hollywood had ever seen. But under the pressure of endless paparazzi, gossip, and public judgment, the romance started to crumble. In 2003, just days before the wedding, Jennifer and Ben called it off. She later described that time as one of the darkest periods of her life. "It was my first big heartbreak," she admitted. "I honestly thought I was going to die." She poured that pain into her music. The album This Is Me then became her emotional diary. Songs like I'm Glad and Dear Ben captured the raw vulnerability of a woman trying to make sense of a love that slipped away. And though her career soared, her heart remained shattered. In 2004, Jennifer married singer Mark Anthony, a partnership that felt like destiny. They shared roots, culture, and a deep creative connection. Together, they welcomed twins Max and Emmy, the greatest joy of her life. For a while, it seemed she had finally found stability. The kind of love that lasts. But behind closed doors, cracks began to show. Mark's controlling nature and Jennifer's demanding schedule clashed constantly. Their marriage, once filled with passion, became strained and painful. In 2011, they separated, marking yet another heartbreak in her long journey of love and loss. "Sometimes we don't realize when something isn't healthy," she later confessed. "You keep fighting because you want it to work. But love can't fix everything." Through it all, Jennifer refused to give up on love. She dated again, Casper Smart, Alex Rodriguez, each time hoping, believing, and trying again. But every ending left her more guarded, more tired, and more aware that being Jennifer Lopez meant living under a microscope where her private pain became public entertainment. Still, her spirit never broke. She kept singing, kept dancing, kept performing with the same fire she had since the Bronx days. But those closest to her knew. Behind that radiant smile was a woman who'd been hurt more times than she could count. "She's tough," a friend once said, "but she's also human. She just wants to be loved for who she really is." And after years of heartbreak, the past came knocking again, with a familiar face, an old flame, and a second chance that no one saw coming. After years of heartbreak, split headlines, and endless speculation, Jennifer Lopez surprised the world in a way no one expected. In 2021, after nearly 2 decades apart, she rekindled her romance with Ben Affleck. What had once been a tabloid obsession became a story of second chances, resilience, and hope. But while fans celebrated, few realized the emotional storm behind the reunion. A storm shaped by years of pain, doubt, and self-discovery. For Jennifer, seeing Ben again wasn't just a walk down memory lane. It was confronting a love that had once shattered her, revisiting the heartbreak that left her questioning herself and the idea of forever. "I had to be honest with myself," she said in an interview. "I had grown. I had healed. And I realized that maybe the timing had just been wrong before." The couple navigated the reunion carefully. This time, Jennifer approached love with a cautious heart. Every step was deliberate. Every decision was weighed against the lessons of the past, the failed marriages, the public scrutiny, the heartbreaks that left deep scars. For decades, she had loved loudly, publicly, sometimes recklessly. Now she loved with wisdom and patience. Even with the media frenzy, Jennifer remained grounded. While every paparazzi photo became a headline, she stayed focused on what mattered most: family, trust, and emotional safety. She spent time reconnecting with Ben on a personal level, outside the cameras, rebuilding the foundation that had crumbled years ago. It was about trust, patience, and understanding, a friend revealed. She wasn't going to risk her heart for anything less. Yet the emotional weight of the past lingered. For Jennifer, the reunion wasn't just romance, it was therapy. It forced her to confront the pain she had carried for years, the public humiliation of failed relationships, and the doubt she had once felt about finding lasting love. Every smile, every embrace, was tinged with the memory of heartbreak that had defined much of her adult life. The world saw the glamour: red carpets, hand-in-hand appearances, and headlines calling them Hollywood's power couple. But behind the images, Jennifer was quietly working through decades of emotional scars. She had to learn to forgive herself and others. She had to remind herself that love is a risk, even after heartbreak. By the time they announced their engagement again in 2022, Jennifer Lopez had not just reunited with a past love, she had reclaimed her own story. It wasn't about the spotlight, the fame, or the glamour. It was about resilience, growth, and learning that the heart can survive even the deepest wounds. And yet, even in this fairy tale reunion, Jennifer knew the world would never let her forget the pain that came before. Every glance, every headline, every public appearance carried the weight of history. She smiled, danced, and performed. But the truth remained. The tragedy of her past had shaped the woman she became. Strong, unshakable, and unwilling to let heartbreak define her future. The question now wasn't whether she could love again. It was whether the world would allow her to live freely without reopening wounds she had worked so hard to heal. At 56, Jennifer Lopez stands at a crossroads few could ever imagine. She's a superstar admired worldwide, yet her journey has been marked by heartbreak, betrayal, and relentless scrutiny. Every love lost, every failed relationship, and every public judgment left a mark. But those very challenges shaped the resilient, unshakable woman she is today. Through her career, Jennifer has always been about strength. From the Bronx streets to the global stage, she faced adversity head-on. She learned early that nothing comes easy. Not fame, not love, not respect. And while she has been adored for her talent, the reality is that her heart has been tested time and time again. Each heartbreak, each setback, forced her to grow stronger, wiser, and more self-aware. Her recent reunion with Ben Affleck is proof that Jennifer refuses to let the past define her. But it's not just about rekindled romance. It's about self-discovery, forgiveness, and courage. She approached love differently this time. Not blindly, not with desperation, but with intention and clarity. She knows her worth, she knows her limits, and she knows that surviving heartbreak is as much about protecting herself as it is about opening her heart again. Even in the glare of public attention, Jennifer has reclaimed her peace. She focuses on what matters most: her family, her health, and her art. Her music reflects this evolution: powerful lyrics, emotive performances, and a raw authenticity that fans can feel. She dances, she sings, she acts. But now it's with the quiet confidence of someone who has endured the storms of life and emerged stronger. Behind the glitz and glam, she has also become a mentor, a role model, and a symbol of resilience. Women around the world see in Jennifer Lopez the embodiment of perseverance, the courage to rise after every fall, to love after every heartbreak, and to shine despite every criticism. She has shown that heartbreak does not have to define a person. It can refine them, but Jennifer's journey isn't over. At 56, she continues to challenge herself, taking on new roles, creating new music, and exploring new horizons. She embraces love and life with the wisdom of experience, knowing that happiness isn't given, It's earned through resilience and self-belief. Every step she takes is a testament to the power of survival. The tragedy of Jennifer Lopez's life isn't just the failed relationships, the betrayals, or the heartbreaks. It's the hidden pain that most of the world never saw, the sleepless nights, the quiet tears, and the moments of doubt. And yet, the triumph of her story is even greater. She endured. She survived. She reclaimed her power and wrote her own narrative, one of strength, courage, and hope. For Jennifer Lopez, heartbreak was never the end. It was the teacher, the crucible, and the catalyst that forged the woman who continues to captivate the world. And as she moves forward, thriving, performing, and loving, one truth becomes clear. Her legacy isn't defined by tragedy alone. It's defined by her unbreakable spirit and her ability to rise, time and time again. Because in the end, Jennifer Lopez didn't just survive heartbreak. She turned it into a life worth celebrating.